Okay, good morning, everyone. Be calling the Board of Commissioners regular meeting for May 22nd, 2025 to order. If you can please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance and salute to the state flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, which is a symbol of perfect friendship among the united cultures.
Thank you, everyone, and good morning. Next item is going to be approval of the regular meeting agenda.
So move. Second.
So I have a motion by Commissioner Medina, a second by Commissioner Flores. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Moving on to public input. During this portion of our meeting, we welcome your suggestions, want to hear your concerns. This is not a question and answer period. Speakers will be limited to 5 minutes. Any individual who would like to discuss an item in more depth may request to be placed on a future agenda, and the request forms are in the county manager's office. Do we have anyone for public input? Yes.
Thank you, thank you. I got an apology to you guys. I didn't say good morning when I was here before. Good morning to all you.
Good morning.
I'm complaining, but I don't have nothing against you guys. What I have is against previous commission, okay? And the way they did things. And that's how they done Highway 35 and Highway 15 for side-by-sides. I don't know how much to tell you, but I did pull up Game and Fish's wildlife, their website and their little bear deal. And the first thing it said, it was illegal to put part of the state road in. It was either all or none. In 35, they put part of it. 15, they put part of it. It also said in that same paragraph, I mean, I throw that at you, that it's illegal. But it also said if they could talk the Department of Transportation into doing it, it was okay. Well, wait a minute, if it's illegal, it's illegal to put part of that road, those roads in. In my way of thinking, if it says it's illegal, then it's illegal. You can't take something and make it legal here and illegal here, or illegal, legal. If it says it's illegal to do that, then it shouldn't have been done. But it puts the members, people in a mess, okay? I'm gonna tell you this. I seen a side-by-side go by my house, flying. A little bit later, here comes Forest Service LEO. He didn't catch him. I had somebody come to my house the other day on a side-by-side that knew nothing about this. What my biggest complaint is, there's been no publicity at all about this. Now, when you go to Lake Roberts or Bear Canyon, I guess out, lake out towards the cliff, you have to have a habitat stamp to even go there and walk around. if you go on the forest, I'm understanding, you have to have this habitat stamp. This habitat stamp comes from getting a hunting license. You have to get it then. So in other words, it's done that way, and they don't tell the public this. The public doesn't know a thing about this. There's been no publicity about it, no nothing. And it's what I'm understanding, and I don't know whether this is true or not, but I've been told that people coming from out of town don't know nothing about this, and they get fined. I don't know if that's a fact. I'm just taking what people's telling me. But how come the public wasn't told about this? And if it's illegal to do this, in other words, this needs to be rescinded. Maybe the whole road's took out. But you can't have a piece of it in it. I'm going through state legislature on it. I don't know what else to do. I'm not blaming you people.
You have 20 seconds.
All right, I need to go.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Shani, do you know how to get up a board? Can you? Anybody else for public speaking? Sure.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, members of the board, county staff.
Just give me a second.
I just wanted to take this opportunity. Usually I'm on the agenda for elected official reports, so I'm going to utilize a little bit of this time. What I wanted to do is on Monday I had a department meeting with my staff, and during this meeting we went over a lot of ideas, suggestions, ideas of what we're going to do for the rest of the year. And during that meeting, before the meeting I had met with my staff, my administration, and what we did is we decided to get and recognize an individual within the office. And so that's what I want to do today is, I have an individual that I hired probably a little less than 2 years ago. And this individual has been an asset to this office. He is a person that is very energetic, very self-motivated, out there just doing his job like he should be. I listen to him, I watch him. He's just a person that I really admire for what he does, being young in this career. And he's one of the type that when I'm monitoring the radio, I hear him wanting to jump everybody's calls and be there and help everybody. And like I say, just self-motivated. So for that reason, we wanted to recognize this individual. And I'd like to read something that I put together for him so that we can recognize him. And I want to award him with a plaque. But what it says, in recognition of outstanding service, unwavering dedication, and exemplary performance in the line of duty, your professionalism, integrity, and commitment to the community have set a standard of excellence for others to follow. Your courage, compassion, and tireless work have made a lasting impact, and it is with great pride and appreciation that we honor you as the Deputy of the Year. And for that, I'd like to recognize Deputy Sam Garcia. You'll come up, please, Sam. So this is Sam, and he used to work for the detention center, and obviously I recruited him from the detention center, and I'm sure he did good work for the detention center as well. But I did want to recognize him with this and thank him for everything that he does and continues to do, and I'm proud to have brought him on board when I did hire him. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's get a picture.
And on the plaque, it says exactly what I read to you guys. Thank you. And one last thing that I did want to address is, we are experiencing a heavy amount of scams within our county. I'm gonna keep reiterating this over and over because a lot of our constituents and community members are being affected by this. So I just ask the media, the press to please put out as much as they can in regards to it. Anytime you receive a phone call or text message or anything that is suspicious, please verify before you give any information. We just had a couple this week again, and unfortunately one of them was a high dollar amount. This poor individual was conned into, they claimed that they were gonna invest his funding and help his money grow. Well, when he went to try to get some money out, that did not exist, so he ended up losing a substantial amount of money. So I just encourage the public to please verify before you do anything with personal information, with bank accounts, not just scams. We have Social Security, we have IRS that sends stuff that are trying to scam your information. I want to keep pushing this until our community understands that they're vulnerable. We're all vulnerable. We as officers also get phone calls about scams, and so it's unfortunate. So I just want to reiterate that, and I hope that it continues to go. Yesterday I was fortunate enough to go out to the Mimbres Community Center, or Mimbres Senior Center, and got to speak to a lot of the individuals out there, and so they got to hear from me on what's going on, and we really need to continue to monitor that. So other than that, if anybody has questions, please reach out to my office. We will answer as best as we can on the scams that are going out. Other than that, I just want to thank my staff for everything they do day in and day out, because they are out there working hard and doing the job to the best of their ability. Other than that, I thank you for the time.
Thank you, sir. Do we have anyone else for public speaking? Okay, thank you. Moving on to, next item is gonna be a public hearing. Need to open a public hearing to discuss, to determine if firework restrictions should be imposed within the unincorporated portions of Grant County due to the extreme or severe drought conditions. May I have a motion to open up a public hearing?
So moved.
So a motion by Commissioner Stevens, second by Commissioner Medina. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So our public hearing is open. Do we have anyone that'd like to testify? Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion to close it?
Motion.
Second.
So a motion by Commissioner Flores, second by Commissioner Stevens to close the public hearing. All those in favor, or any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Moving on to proclamations. First proclamation is going to be to declare extreme or severe drought conditions in Grant County, imposing a fireworks restriction. County Manager, before we go, do you have anything to say?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I would just add, you have in front of you the most recent drought monitor map, and you can see that the area of exceptional drought continues to grow, and probably we have about 95% of our county that is considered to be an exceptional drought, so the conditions continue to worsen. So staff's recommendation to continue to impose fireworks restrictions.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second. So a motion by Commissioner Stevens, I second the motion. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to the next one will be a proclamation for the Wild West Rodeo Week. County Manager,
Mary
wanna
Ray
go?
will, she'll read it.
got it?
County of Grant Proclamation Wild West Rodeo Week. Whereas the Southwest Horsemen's Association and the Casper Baca Rodeo Company will presenting the First New Mexico Bank Wild Wild West Rodeo in Grant County, New Mexico. And whereas the Wild Wild West Rodeo is celebrating its 33rd year in Grant County in 2025, and whereas cattle ranching was created by the earliest settlers of the North American continent, and whereas ranching has been a major contributor to the history, customs, culture, and romance of Grant County, and whereas the sport of rodeo perpetuates and keeps these qualities alive, and whereas the Wild Wild West Rodeo is one of Grant County major tourist attractions, and spectators, tourists, and rodeo cowboys and cowgirls from throughout the West will converge in Grant County for this annual event. Now therefore, the Grant County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim the week of June 2nd through June 7th as the first New Mexico Bank Wild Wild West Rodeo Week.
Thank you. Make a motion to accept the proclamation for the Wild Wild West Rodeo Week. Did you? Second by Commissioner Medina. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Is there anybody else?
It's me.
Just you?
It's me, so we can skip.
Okay. Well, thank you, County Manager. Moving on to, nothing on presentations. Moving on to the consent agenda. We have the May 6, 2025 work session meetings and the healthcare claims for 2025.
Second.
So a motion by Commissioner Medina and a second by Commissioner Shally. Do we have any discussion, questions? Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to new business. Under item F, ratification of Laura Mimbres, new fire chief Leroy Holguin, and assistant fire chief Darren Gonzalez.
Good morning. Good morning, Chairman and Commission, staff, ladies and gentlemen. We've had a change out at the Lower Members Fire Department, and Leroy Holguin has been the Assistant Chief, and we are looking to move him into the Chief's position. He comes to us with 27 years of firefighting experience from the Forest Service. He's been with Lower Members for several years now. And Darian Gonzalez has stepped up to fill the assistant chief position vacated by Chief Holguin. Mr. Gonzalez has been with Lower Members about a year and comes to us from Santa Fe Municipal Fire Department, where he had a number of years there, and he's relocated to the area for employment and has family here. So that's what we're hoping to do. I'll stand for any questions, or Mr. Holguin is here as well.
Thank you. Questions? Make a motion?
Sure. Make a motion to approve. Second.
So I have a motion by Commissioner Medina, second by Commissioner Shally. Do we have any discussion? Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Moving on to the next item is going to be FY 25-26, non-metro New Mexico area on aging, funds commitment, County Manager.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, in front of you, you have a letter from HMS regarding the local funds commitment. The county has historically budgeted $50,000 as our local match, in addition to the in-kind that we provide by providing the senior centers. As you can see from the letter, they are based on state and federal funds that they anticipate receiving for fiscal year 26. They're projecting a $88,205 deficit for the Members Center and a $121,990 budget deficit for the Gila Senior Center, and asking consideration for a funding commitment beyond our historical levels. Also, provided for you some additional numbers. I haven't had a chance to review them or ask any questions. So this is beyond my budgetary authority, so it is in front of you for your consideration.
So, hold on. And I haven't, go ahead, Commissioner.
So, Ms. Manager, I got questions. So, they're asking for $200,000 to support both senior centers, correct?
That's what it appears to me, yes.
So, breaking down the numerous conversations I've had with the numerous people, site leads, they have one site lead, not leads. Cooks, kitchen transportation assistants, others. Who's salary for others? Because the conversation I've had was one full-timer, one that works 6 hours and one that works 4 hours. That doesn't break down to other 42,870. Are they including the oversight member that does Aaron Holmes? Are they including his salary in this? Are they including somebody else's salary at the HMS office that does business for members? I'm really curious about this. You know, I want transparency. I want an open book. And you can't make the comment that we're going to cut services and not expect an uproar from it, and then not expect us as a commission to come back and ask these questions. Yesterday, we heard a yearful. You can ask Deputy Manager. We heard a yearful, and there was not a single HMS representative there to assist us. But I made phone calls before the meeting, and right at 11:29, I got phone calls returned to me. I'm pretty upset over this issue. I really am, because it just seems that it's caused a lot of ruckus. And Commissioner Flores, I don't know if you're facing the same issues out there in Cliff Gila. You're hearing the same concerns. I'd imagine you probably are. But there has to be a bigger breakdown in this rather than giving a $200,000 check. I support it because I want senior services out there, and I'm okay with it, but there needs to be a little bit more transparency in this.
So it's noted that other consists of a senior care advocate, an activities coordinator, an administrative assistant, and the senior center director, prorated by site allocation.
So are these, sorry to interrupt you, but are these people full-time, or my question would be, and something that needs to come up, are they doing full-time senior services, or are they doing, for example, 1 day of senior services and then another 4 days of HMS work? You know, I've sat here for, I think, I'm not 7 years, I'm not sure, sat here, and I've always said our seniors are our number one. I have a feeling that we're getting thrown stuff like this. There is no transparency in this for us to sit here and say yes, no, and then for HMS or their board to come at us and say, well, you guys didn't support this, and giving them an excuse to blame somebody else other than themselves for this. I'm not good with that. You know, I look at this and I understand there's a deficit, but the biggest picture that I see here too is yes, we need to help our seniors. I'm not good on this one. I mean, this is taxpayer money that's going into HMS. You know, I saw an email that I received, we're asking for information. You know, the excuse was, and I believe we're a 501c3, we don't have to. Well, come on, wake up, because anytime federal and state money goes into a program, yeah, we need to be accountable to our taxpayers. Do I feel comfortable passing this right now? No, I don't, and I'm probably gonna vote no. until somebody else comes to the table and gives us more information, bigger information. I sit there reading the paper, there's an investigation going on. Well, can we hold off till we figure all this out? Can we make a motion to table it? Can we look at it without hurting our services? Because right now, as a county commissioner, and I know I'm going on, but I have to get it off my chest. As a county commissioner, we have 2 contracts with HMS. We have 2 CASA contract, and we have our senior services contracts with HMS. That gives us the right to start questioning some of these things. You know, it's also our constituents. This is what we're here for, to listen to our constituents. We can't go to Walmart, can't go to Albertsons, can't go anywhere without getting hit about the senior services, you know, everything that's been going on social media and newspapers. To me, I want transparency. But we use taxpayer dollars. Are our seniors getting the biggest things? I've looked into stuff like Commissioner Medina has. You know, where I get, I'm not gonna mention I guess his title is director for senior centers. I know his salary is there, but probably included in this, which is fine. But things that I've seen, 102,000 from one of our senior centers, 112 or 14,000 from, and I don't keep repeating this and telling the public this, 156,000 that I got from Santa Clara, plus not counting $33,000 on the fringe benefits. You know, I don't know, and I'm still waiting to get a response from Silver City. We're having $600,000 in salaries on four senior centers. And we're at a deficit, we're at a shortfall when the employees don't match the numbers. You know, I could sit there and say, yeah, this employee's there, but what's their actual work? That's what I want to know. You know, I don't know if one of your departments, if your finance department, if your planning, even hit $600,000 in salaries with benefits. Maybe it does, I'm not sure. I guess I can look at this. But I'm a little concerned with this. I'm a little concerned of, let's pass the buck, the county's not gonna do this, we're gonna blame them. You know, I think that their board needs to either come up and say, we're gonna provide services for seniors or we're not, before we jump on this. And if they don't, I know, and I have a lot of confidence in you and I have a lot of confidence in your staff, that there's things that services aren't gonna be interrupted for our seniors. And you guys are doing a job, but I think it's time that somebody comes up and gives us these answers and is transparent. And I hope the state does a diligent job into, or not the state or whoever's doing that piece, answers for us. Because this right now, throw it at us. You guys said no, we blame you for our seniors. It's time they step up and it's time they sit there and they're transparent with our public. And I'm sorry I'm going off on this, but you know, I'm looking at this and I haven't even read this, so I don't know what you commissioners want to do. If we table it till we get answers, what happens there? And that, to me, that tells the public, we're here to help our seniors. But you know what? When it comes to taxpayer money, it comes to transparency, and comes to another board, that they come and tell us either we're gonna provide services or we're not. So we can get this money and move on, because right now I would not, even though I sit up here and senior citizens are one of my #1 priorities for the 6 or 7 years I've sat here, this is what they're throwing at us is unacceptable. Now I have to sit here, and I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but now we have to sit here and look at, if I'm not mistaken, I think I saw it on here, or maybe, there we go. Senior Center Infrastructure Capital Improvement Plan. Now, HMS didn't even put that together. Didn't even want to help our seniors by putting in to submitting for the state for money, and we as commissioners have to do this. And it's on the agenda. You know, so come on, what's gonna happen here? So for me right now, and I don't know how the other commissioners feel, either we table this and get the information we need, we say no, let HMS start saying the county commissioners didn't help, the county commissioners dropped the ball, which that's what they're looking for, or their board comes up and decides that they're gonna drop services or they're gonna continue to provide services. That's the way I feel, and I'm sorry, public, but when it comes to seniors, kids, veterans, nah, don't mess with me. Anybody else have any comments?
I got one more comment. So after a conversation with the Lieutenant Governor yesterday morning prior to the meeting, he's vowed his commitment to make sure that these senior services are alive and well. I know that he's mentioned to you, County Manager, he spoke to you and Mr. Brown of the town of Silver City. Yesterday, Andrea, myself, we gave our commitment to these seniors out there as they sit there and ask, where are we teetering? Are we gonna go away? Are we gonna stay? Are we gonna have the option to come serve here? It's really devastating for seniors from our community to come up and tell you, I come here to have lunch so I can talk to people because at my home there's nobody else. I've lost my spouse. My kids don't live here no more. So they come, they enjoy that conversation with another senior for 20 minutes while they eat. And then they go about their day for the next 23 hours and 20 minutes by themselves. So it's devastating. And then to hear employees asking, am I secure? Do I have a job? Do I not have a job? Me and Andrea got put in some pretty hard comments yesterday that tear you apart emotionally. And from a standpoint, they look at you. You're, as a commissioner, you're their mouthpiece. You're their voice. And I heard them loud and clear yesterday. And Sheriff, you probably heard the same stories yesterday. And it's devastating. And I got to agree with Chairman Ponce. Are you in or are you out? Make a decision. Don't teeter the fence. You're in or you're out. Make the decision. And I agree with Chairman Ponce. The board needs to come on board and make that decision if they're in or out. That's all I have.
Commissioner Flores.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to echo both Commissioner Medina and your comments, you're right. We're up here to be the good stewards of our taxpayers' money, and it just seems that we're dumping money into something that may not be successful. It obviously doesn't seem to be successful. The investigation concerns me. The letter of no support is concerning. Key personnel have left HMS. People in the community are worried. I talked to a person the other day and he was concerned because his primary care physician left HMS. But yeah, you're right. Who are these salaries getting paid to and what are they doing to earn the salaries? What is their job description? Because it's easy to put something down on paper, but until we see what they do, because maybe, who knows what they're doing, but it is a lot for salaries, duties. I think we need to hear more from the seniors, maybe like Commissioner Medina did, go out and have a meeting with the ones in Cliff and see what are the issues out here exactly. But I just want to reiterate what they both said is no matter what happens, we as a commission are here to support the seniors and they will not go unheard or untaken care of. Thank you.
No, the other thing here, sorry, Commissioner Shelley, we'll get to you in a minute. We turn around and say we were to approve this, send them the money, and then they say, we're not gonna take care of the senior center. Is this money gonna come back to us and to the taxpayer, or is that another battle that we're gonna have to face? Well, it was to cover this, cover that. Anyway, I'm not expecting an answer from that, and I'm looking at you, County Manager, I'm sorry, but that's not your deal, but Commissioner Shelley, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It seems like some of the information that we've hoped to receive is in this submittal that we just received today. So it may be premature to be able to answer all the questions that you've put forth without studying this, but it does on page 4 or 5 show the, 3 and 4 shows the salaries for the site leads, the cooks, kitchen transportation assistants. That's who are being paid to provide the services at each facility. And then it shows their salary and their fringe benefits, sums it up, and then there is also on page 4 or 5 the salary, fringe, and the full-time employee count. So this answers that question. Well, how many people are we paying to do what? Other than other, which is vague, but it also shows that
the types of activities. So I think it warrants our study of this. It may have, this finally may have answered most of our questions with this. Exactly what it costs to provide the services that are being provided. And so I think it's a good document to start with. I think we've been asking for this for a while. And so I appreciate getting it. It just seems like it's too short for us to really digest in just a few minutes and then agree or disagree with the amount that's being requested.
Well, I appreciate your comments, but there's a lot more questions that I have on transparency here. So, for the meantime, this is what I'm going to make a motion to table this and look into it. And Commissioner, I'm sorry, I'll withdraw my motion right now. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to chime in too, that I also appreciate the information here, and on initial study, I just want to summarize what my understanding is that in the past, the county has committed $50,000, and that was for both senior centers. So now we're being asked to make up the shortfall, and the shortfall is over 200,000. So we would be quadrupling our commitment, and the letter does acknowledge that, and the letter does say that the reason for that is food costs, salary, and fringe growth, insurance cost, fuel cost, and facility-related costs. So I appreciate that all of those costs have gone up. I think, like Commissioner Shelley said, it's an issue of timing. But it doesn't feel good to be over a barrel, because it's kind of like saying, well, you either can commit to $200,000 or the seniors go without. And that's a terrible place to be in. So I guess I'm curious what our options are. And I know our next agenda item, we're going to kind of look at that too. But if we table it, when does a decision have to be made? Could we commit to a shorter time frame instead of a full year commitment? If we did say no, then it's easy to say to seniors, we're committed to making sure that services don't stop, that there's no interruption. But can we really say that? Like, we need to make sure that that's true. So I guess there needs to be a timeline and a plan, and that's what concerns me.
I think that for somebody to step in, and that's why I said earlier, our county manager and our staff's done an excellent job. They're ready to go. I know there's elected officials in the state that are working diligently on this to make sure that services aren't broken. So my motion is, and we can have further discussions to table this till we get further information. So I make a motion to table.
Second.
So I have a second by Commissioner Flores. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Anybody opposed? Thank you. Tabled. Where am I at? H. County agreement with Hidalgo Medical Services.
Mr. Chair, Commission, the county has 3 lease agreements with Hidalgo Medical Services, 2 for the senior centers that have just been discussed, and then 1 for the facility where Tucasa is operated. Each of these agreements provide for an exchange of in-kind services in lieu of rent. Part of that exchange requires regular accounting and documentation that's submitted by the contractor to the county for review. It's pretty detailed in each of these leases about what is required in there. This would give an opportunity for the county to request all of those documents to be provided. I think that that would actually provide some of the backup information that is being talked about right now. The agreements provide a number of different options. If, based on what has been discussed, the county can absolutely decide that it wants to cease doing business at all with HMS. That is an option, that would be a termination for cause. There are provisions in the agreements that would require certain types of notice and opportunities to cure with that. And there are other provisions. There are terminations for no cause that are allowed within there. And then there's also the opportunity to basically request an audit for us to be able to inspect records, to receive records, and to make an informed decision one way or the other down the line. My suggestion, based on what has been discussed today and in previous interactions, has been to pursue the kind of the requesting documents route, to receive those as soon as possible in order for you all to make an informed decision at an upcoming meeting.
And I think that we should follow the recommendation. One of the things that I did like in there was, an audit. Again, taxpayer monies that go into a 501c3, the public needs to be aware of where that money's going. I mean, that's whatever. Like I said earlier, we have these contracts with HMS. This is why Grant County Commission is involved. We can put aside the other stuff that's going on, that's, providers, all that, their business, but to me, HMS needs to go, or TUCASA needs to go back to the basics where it was, and we as commissioners need to be leaders and start providing and looking at other avenues to go with TUCASA to provide the services that our community deserves. HMS, that's also seems like the discussion we had is not doing very well. So where do we, as a Board of Commissioners, come up and help our constituents, help these services, make sure that these services are given to our community, to Grant County? So I think, instead of me, jumping in, right, going above whatever, I think that idea that our attorney came across with audits, asking for information, I think should be our first step, should be the first proper step, so I agree with you. Thank you, and I appreciate you doing that. Does anybody have anything else on that?
I do. Ben, do we have the option of altering the contract at all, asking for other things that we'd like to see in the contract, or are we stuck in one particular contract?
At the moment, the contracts exist in the way that they're written. If we were to try and negotiate additional terms or provisions within them, we would have to put together those new terms, probably through an addendum. And that would then, that opens though the negotiation window with both sides to the agreement.
Because there were some things pointed out yesterday that it's an accountability check is what it is, and it's just a thing to secure the services be maintained, transparency and an open door. We have access as a commission or a county manager to some of their board members where we can discuss issues that are hot topics that come out of the senior centers. I know that to somebody, a topic such as they don't have activities planned on Tuesday and Wednesday may not impact HMS or a county commission, but to a senior that's expecting those services, they want to go interact and do something good. That's why they're there. That's why that senior center is there, to make sure they have a good quality of life. And I think within that contract, I think we need to put some parameters that say we're going to have a board that's going to help move this process along, or we're going to be able to do some different things within the contract. Not just, I give you money, you give me this. There has to be a little bit more to it. So we could look at that, please.
We can absolutely do that.
Thank you.
I see where, those comments are good, Commissioner, but to me, at the end of the day, sitting here for all those years and seeing where TUCASA has gone and what it's done, to me, in my opinion, it's time to really start looking at, and I know there's processes, what we're doing, and you guys are aware of what we're looking at. It's time to to take a step back. I think there's been ample time. I don't know how long this contract has been in place. It was in place prior to me sitting up here, so it's longer than 7 years, right? Been there. So I think that we've done what we can as a commission with this contract. I don't see it getting any better, and I think we really need to take a look at, you know, do we need HMS running to CASA? Or do we look at other options that we may have? But, thank you, Commissioner Medina. Do we have any further discussion on this? I'd like to make a motion to or go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I don't believe that action is required on this item. It can simply be based on, sounds like the commission has a consensus on gathering the information level. If the commission wishes to have a motion on that, they can, but that's not necessary as far as taking the directive from what has been said already.
Okay. You guys good with the recommendation from our attorney to follow through with? Good. Thank you, Ben, and thank you, Shirley. Go ahead and do what you have to do. We done with that one? So next item is gonna be agreements, local driving while intoxicated grant agreement for the Grant County DWI program 26-D-G-10.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, this is our fiscal year 2026 funding agreement. It's our yearly agreement that we do. It's submitted in February, and we go before the Grant Council in April, and they approved our budget that you see in front of you. I stand for questions.
Good with it? Make a motion to approve.
Second.
So I made a motion, Commissioner Shally second. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Moving on to the next item, J, State of New Mexico Department of Health Intergovernmental Agreement, number 26, IGA 2005-00028.
Morning, Chairman, Commissioners. This is an annual renewal of this. We currently have it. We're just the fiscal agent between Department of Health and CHI, so we're just the pass-through. But it's above the signing authority, so it's for you to accept it. And that's for both J and K.
Okay, item K is State of New Mexico Health Intergovernmental Agreement number 26, IGA 2005-00029. So it's both, and this is Department of Health, CHI.
Yes, we're the fiscal agent, as she mentioned, the funds just pass through us from POH to CHI for program implementation.
Commissioner, before I make a motion, do you have anything to say? So I'd like to approve agreement number 26, IGA 2005-00028, and agreement 26, IGA 2005-00029.
Second.
So I have a second by Commissioner Medina. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to resolutions. Senior Center Infrastructure Capital Improvement Plan.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, before I hand this off to Joseph, I just want to mention that this is going to require action of you today. This was due last week. Joseph reached out. We're able to secure an extension to be able to submit this, and this needs to be approved in order to apply for capital outlay funding in the future. So I'll turn it over to Joseph to go through the list of items.
Manager Webb, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Before you today is the Senior Center's ICIP summary sheet for Gila and Mibris. Please keep in mind these two ICIPs are separate from the county's overall ICIP. This is specific to these facilities. So in Gila, I took some historical information along with Aaron Holmes from HMS, and then I also got feedback from our Public Works Director, Jason Lockett. And with that, we assembled a list that we feel very confident in. So in Gila, it was determined that flooring is needed in that facility. It's become a tripping hazard there. There's a second range hood that's needed for one of the stoves. There are some parking lot improvements in Gila that are needed to mitigate tripping hazards and things like that. And then also to add some site security, if fencing would be needed in that area as well. And then lastly, at that facility, there's the restrooms need attention there. LED light conversions would be advantageous for energy savings, and then a couple mini split units to help regulate heating and cooling in that space. For our Members Senior Center, there's some overlap on a few of those, some similar requests, but some split air units are needed to maintain temperatures for food storage. Again, the same thing there where we need restroom renovations, LED light conversions, and then mini splits. And then lastly, in Members, they requested a hot shot vehicle, which is to transport food to seniors that are not able to make their ways to the centers. So with that, I'll stand for any questions.
I have a comment for, and I guess to refresh my memory on a little of this. We prioritized them 1 through 4 for, I believe it was Gila Center. And usually when they award this, do they go by the top one? I mean, I guess my question, is this priority what you can live with? That there isn't, like 4 isn't more important than 1, in case they go by the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Is it?
Yes, sir.
And same goes for Members.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. And so, and part of that decision-making in that ranking was taking the previous requests that maybe partially got funded and rolling those up to a higher ranking. So we're trying to make sure whatever previous submissions we had put in place, that those are getting funded completely all the way. So what you're seeing at the top are ones that maybe partially got funded. So we want to make sure that that entire project gets completed and finished, and then we're backfilling with new projects.
Okay, and I'm looking here at Members. I know you mentioned one of them needed refrigeration for the temperature of the food or something. That's under the equipment and furnishing,
Yes, sir, that's correct. That's the number 1 priority.
and that's Members.
Yes, sir.
Good. Questions, Commissioners?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Do you have anything else, County Manager?
I move to approve.
Second.
So motion by Commissioner Stevens, second by Commissioner Medina. Do we have any discussion? See none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Moving on to item M, which is Resolution R-25-33. This is for Bridge Road. And I'm assuming, Mr. Holguin, this is yours?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, Commissioners, and I can actually, if you're okay with it, I'll speak to M, N, and O. All 3 of these are approvals. These are Colonias projects, and it's to utilize Colonias funding. So, of course, being that it's over that $60,000 mark, we're coming before the Commission for approval on those. As soon as this is approved, we'll cut the POs, and then we'll engage our engineers so they can get those jobs out to bid. And then we would come back a second time to approve the contractors to start work. So with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Questions? No, go ahead.
All right, same thing.
Well, hold on. I have I'll do it at the end, never mind.
Sure.
So we got all 3 of them?
Yeah, they're all kind of cookie cutter, but they are all, like I say, Colonias funding, all 3 are separate, but I'll be glad to go through all of them individually if you'd prefer. Yes, sir.
Guess not, okay.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Can I
Chair.
have a motion, Commissioner?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve M, N, and O as presented by Mr. Holguin.
Second.
So a motion by Commissioner Medina, second by Commissioner Stevens. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Moving on to next item P, going to be a budget adjustment request from our deputy county manager.
Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. This is the smallest bar of the year. We're just requesting to increase the $28,000 to replace the sliding doors at the front of the admin building here that are closed right now. So we just need your permission to approve to increase this unbudgeted expense line. And I'll stand for any questions.
I move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Stevens, second by Commissioner Schaller. Do we have any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to next item, preliminary budget.
Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. Let me plug in to the. We'll be covering the attachments that you received in the emails. If you have any questions, feel free to just speak out. I didn't know if Charlene wanted to speak first. So this first page is the recap sheet that you have. It had the beginning balances as of that pooled cash report that was run that day. The budgeted revenues are all within our estimated budget, which is on this FY26 preliminary budget summary. If you like, we can go through the general fund revenues with GRT and several items that come in. If you have any questions or concerns about any of the revenues on the screen.
We tried to summarize for you just in general that I think Andrea did a good job of sending you the bullet points that, GRT is up, and I've talked to you over the last several months and the last year since we saw the changes at this, when the legislature made changes that has drastically improved our collections for GRT, and we're seeing those be consistently high, not in cycles like we've seen in the past, depending upon projects or something that might be happening in the county. So this has become a much more stable source of revenue. And then the others pretty much remain the same. The main sources of property tax, copper, we don't have the figures yet, but what we included was based on last year's figures. I believe that we'll see a slight increase in the copper due to that works in 3 years in arrears. We've climbed out of the COVID era with that, so I think we'll see a little bit of an increase there. Everything else pretty much remains consistent.
So if I'm reading this right, hold on here. So what's scrolling down, and I know I made a example earlier, data statement about our planning department. The planning department, if I'm reading this right, salary is $266. Just trying to prove my point on my earlier comment on how our seniors are. We have over $500,000 in salaries, but and if you look at what our planning does, we just approved a bunch of capital projects going on, design, everything that they're on top of. So, just a point. Commissioner, do you have any questions?
Just got a quick comment for the county manager. So, dead horse issue. the GRT stuff with the mine and Bayard, and they got money and it's county money and that whole delivery thing. Have we taken care of that issue? Cause it was brought up last night. And they're gonna be meeting with the mine and the state regarding, do we need it, do they owe the county money for that? Can we get an update on that one?
I think you spoke to somebody about that.
Where
I
the
don't
mine gets
remember. I'm gonna have to
their
refresh
mine
my
gets their delivery stuff and they're using the zip code of Bayer where that GRT is supposed to be coming to the county.
The Baird GRT and the county GRT, we had gotten an answer on that, and I believe they said it was resolved. Let me follow up on that because
Okay,
I don't remember
that's what I
exactly where
said.
that got left, but.
Dead horse issue, I just wanna make sure it's back on the radar, cause the city of Bayer is doing some stuff with it, I just wanna make sure the county, if we're due some money, it goes to the proper people. Thank you.
And that's hard information to get because the state of New Mexico is a non-disclosure state.
Yeah.
And so it's really hard to get them to tell you that, yes, it was wrong or right or whatever, but,
It just seems it goes on the radar and then falls off and goes on and falls off, so just run it back up there. Thank you. That's all I have, Chairman.
Does anybody else have anything else? Commissioner Stevens?
Just a couple things. I noticed the animal control fines is very low, so I hope that will go up in the future once we get that ordinance revised. And then, I don't know if it's in the budget or should be, but we had talked about a magnet for the road department, which I think you said, County Manager, that in your previous experience, it didn't work very well. So I'll defer to you on that, but if you think maybe technology's improved over time.
we haven't looked into quotes for that, but yes, in my experience in another county, we did have one. It picked up some things, but not to the extent that I felt that it was hugely beneficial, but
Okay.
those types of
So it
equipment do
doesn't make
exist.
sense to
I-
include it.
I'm not sure that it does, but we're gonna look into quotes for that, and I don't think that that's gonna be a significant expense that we wouldn't be able to just incorporate in the budget as it is. And the capital that we did include, I followed up since the initial presentation with you with department heads on some things that I had questions about that I felt might have been a little inflated and not necessarily critical needs at this point. And that summary sheet was also included in the information that Andrea sent to you. So I don't believe you made the deductions in this presentation, right? So that's where we would sort of need your direction on whether or not you agree with staff recommendation on those cuts. There were some items, if I can find it, some items in the road department, maintenance. The other items that we were deferring to you was additional positions in the sheriff's department, capital in the sheriff's department, and the DARE program. So you've had considerable conversation around that. Some of the rationale behind some of our recommendations on capital outlay that was requested, I believe some of the requests are premature. On further discussion with the Public Works Director, some of these items were for when the cliff field is complete. We're a year or so out. Does it make sense to purchase equipment and have it sitting around? We are looking into a cost savings and the request for the vehicles for the road department. We don't have to have F-150s. We were purchasing F-150s because at the time we weren't able to purchase the smaller Rangers, and those are available now, so I think that would be a cost savings. We do feel that the other expenses, capital expenses for the road department are warranted. Our new road director did obtain a new quote for the mini excavator. That was a substantial cost savings. one of the things I do want to talk to you about is the Eagle View imagery that we've heard from the assessor on, and you've heard the presentation. In order for that to get the version that would be more beneficial for them, as well as being able to be used for our mapping department and for code enforcement, you're looking at $203,000. My recommendation is for the initial purchase is to use our LATCF funding, so it does not hit the general fund. And then we use this basically as a pilot, and if it produces the additional income as the assessor states that it will, then I think it makes sense that if we see those increases that this should generate based on increasing our property valuations, give it a chance to see if it's going to produce, and if it doesn't produce, then we don't fund it in the future. That was my thought. And then this doesn't hit our general fund. It gives them time to see that it's going to do what she thinks it's going to do. The other small cut that I was suggesting was, Rebecca had mentioned an access door between the admin portion of the new hangar into the actual hangar part. I don't think that needs to be a capital item. We budget a significant amount of money in construction rehab in the maintenance department, and that's for those type projects that we can do in-house. And then the sheriff requested an additional admin, which he presented to you, also funding for DARE, and staff's referring to the commission for those decisions. Other than that, I think we've, Andrea and Betty have done a great job of presenting you a balanced budget.
Thank you for that clarification. Chairman, is it okay if I have one more comment?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
go ahead.
So I'm glad you brought up DARE. As a social worker, this is an issue that's kind of close to my heart. And Sheriff, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this too. But I know DARE started in 1983, and most of the research and studies have shown no significant impact on drug use. The trend now is to move towards harm reduction, which is to say don't use, but if you do, minimize the risk of harm, like safety. You know, we don't want people to overdose, especially in the era of fentanyl. And so it's more about education, test strips, you know, encouraging people to use with others, small amounts. So it's a big topic, and I'm certainly not telling you what to do, but if we were to fund anything, I would want to fund a more modern program like harm reduction rather than DARE. That's just my input.
Agree. Anything else, commissioners, on our budget?
I just have a couple of questions, Mr. Chairman. Andrea, can you point us to see in this budget, because I couldn't come, you sent an email with the reduction from the forest. Tell me again what that was and where I can see it in the budget, because I couldn't match the numbers in your email.
So yes.
And what's that money used for?
So this was the rural schools and roads disbursement that comes from DFA annually. We just received the email this morning from DFA that the funding was cut for this year. We won't be receiving that funding. Go ahead, Sherry.
Secured to rural schools
Yes.
funding, it's federal funding, and that's why we're seeing the cut, is it was not included in, wasn't approved in the current federal budget. So the reason, and Andrea will show you where it goes. So part of that is fire chief salary, another portion goes into the road fund, and that is specified by statute. There are two different, there's actually Title I, II, and III. We choose Title I and Title III of Forest Reserve. This is a portion of, it's complicated. This is a portion of that funding that's called Secure to Rural Schools. And exactly what
Can
it
you say
says.
that?
Secure to Rural Schools. We can point you to, there's very good information on the federal website. And it's exactly what it says. We get a portion of that, and both school districts also get a portion of that, and it was not funded in the budget. I spoke with Cody McCarthy with Vasquez's office day before yesterday. They're asking for feedback from counties as to what the impact was, so we will be providing that summary to them. There is a bill introduced to try to reinstate that funding. I'm not 100% confident when that'll happen. This is not really unusual. This has happened before, and it's just a storm that we weather based upon changes in DC. Does it hurt? Absolutely it does.
And so that goes into our, it's one of the revenues that we use for firefighting our various firefighting units.
It's used for, it goes into Roger's budget, and so historically it's been used for a portion of, it would be currently Roger, before it was Randy Vita, before that it was Mr. Benavides. That salary, we also use it for educational outreach, so some of like whenever we do fire prevention type things, those funds are used for that, and that is specified by federal statute that says this is what you have to use those particular title funds for. So we have to use it in accordance with the law, and that's what that is used for. And so what she was pointing out in the budget was we are utilizing some county fire funds we have to offset this shortfall, and hopefully by next fiscal year the money would be reinstated.
So was it a reduction or was the funding cut?
I could read to you what DFA says. The USDA Forest Service is making payments to states this year under the 1908 Act amended 1908 Act because the Secure Rural Roads and Community Self-Determination Act expired on September 30th, 2023, and the legislation has not retroactively reauthorized for fiscal year 2024. The 1908 Act amended only includes funds to be used on schools and roads. This means there are no Title II or III title payments for this year. With no reauthorizations, the Forest Service must follow the 1908 Act, which generally results in lower payments to states. The 1908 Act also requires the Forest Service to make payments as soon as it is practical. The 1908 Act requires that an annual average of 25% of the receipts from the national forest, calculated over 7 fiscal years, be paid to the state or territory where the forest is located. These funds must be used to benefit public schools and public roads in the county or counties where the forest is situated. If the legislation is reauthorized later this year, the Forest Service will process the SRS payments in accordance with the law and in a timely manner as possible.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So Title I is, so that is referring to Title II and Title III, which is roads. Title I is also affected, and that's what we use for fire portion, and that was reduced. We got 17,000 this year, so we're not anticipating seeing that next year. So we felt it was prudent to budget on the side of caution and not include that, not knowing whether or not we're going to get that.
Okay.
It's about a $250,000 hit.
Yes, we were estimated to have $278,000 in revenue based on last year's allotment, and then they only gave us $17,049 this year is what we received, and we're not projecting to receive next year. So actually on this line item I have here, it should actually be zero for next year, but I just found that out this morning. So that will change for the final budget.
Yeah, that's a big hit, sounds like. Okay. And other than that, I just wanted to point out that I appreciate the effort that's gone into this and getting to watch it evolve over the past month and a half or so, couple months. Had a lot of questions, appreciate all the time that you've spent answering them. And that you have, I think it was a priority from all of the commissioners to do something about detention center salaries, which you addressed. And appreciate those issues related to public safety that I see represented in the budget. And it's an amazing balance that you've come to present this preliminary budget. So thank you.
The credit goes to those two ladies sitting right there. They've done an amazing job putting this together, all while rebuilding a financial system from the ground up.
Closing out an audit.
Closing a late audit, starting a new audit. I'm very thankful to have them both, and any gratitude or thanks goes right over there.
Thank you, Andrea. And your assistant, tell me her name again.
This is Betty Orozco.
Okay.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
So, Ms. Manager and Ms. Deputy Manager, with budget being passed at the federal level, they're talking about 1.5 trillion. Right now, we've got to be cautious, and it seems you guys are on the side of caution. I appreciate that, especially being fiscally responsible for citizens' money. I appreciate that effort. One last question on the EcoView you talked about that you think it's a project worth. We didn't take an action on that when they did the presentation. Are you going to try to bring it forward?
Yeah, we did not take action then.
You're going to bring it forward for the June meeting?
So it either needs to be included in the budget as I presented, or if it's not budgeted for, I'm not going to bring the agreement forward to you.
Okay.
So we're not doing it this fiscal year. We were going to have this as part of it. It did make sense to do it now when we're in the middle of developing our budget. So I've had conversations with Misty. We felt that we could hold off until July to fund it. And so my recommendation is that we fund it out of LATCF for a 3-year time period, just to see if it's going to work and not work. We'll know pretty quickly whether or not we see those valuations increase, which that's the reason for the tool. If we don't see that, then I would suggest that we don't continue funding. But I thought this would be a safe way to test it without it hitting our general fund.
Okay. That's a great approach. If it improves quality and efficiency, why not? Let's move forward. So, thank you.
It's worked in other counties. I'm confident that it will here, but I don't want to. The budget's a little tighter than I'm super comfortable with, but we have some wiggle room, and I didn't want to hit us with another 200 grand when we do have those funds available. And for the new commissioner's information, we've utilized that to catch up on a lot of infrastructure and capital that we have band-aided or not stayed ahead of. So it helped us get over this hump, and now like to utilize that for grant match monies for other emergency type things that come up, and be able to start funding our capital requests and things that we need within our general fund. And so using that sparingly moving forward.
It's difficult to do your budgetary process. Over the last year, you've had some instabilities and some other issues that you've kind of found papers under the desk and in the drawer and stuff like that. So it makes it difficult to do that, and it seems that you guys are overcoming it. And the county really appreciates that. Thank you. That's all I got.
Go ahead.
One more thing. I had the opportunity to meet with Ashton Justice, who's been doing the trauma-informed yoga in the jail. And I think she's met with a couple of us. And so if that program were to expand, is that something we would look at doing, like a budget adjustment so we don't really need to plan for it at this point.
No, so her current program is funded through RISE. What she met with me about, and I'm assuming she's having the same conversation with you all, I don't know that we can legally take that on. I don't believe we can get insured for that. We could contract with her in a manner that might work, but I have some concerns, which I have shared with her.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else, Commissioners? Anything else?
Need to know on the items we've deferred to you, if you want to fund those or not.
Say that again?
The items that we've deferred to you, as a recommendation to you, the 50,000, we did include for a unit for the sheriff. We did not budget for DARE because wasn't exactly sure. He had asked for 30,000. Initially, you weren't real keen on that. And then he also asked for an additional admin person, which is not included, but I need to know how you want to move forward with those items, or do you want to hold off until the final budget to consider those?
We have to make a decision today on this.
We can leave it as is for the prelim, knowing that he would go in starting from July to September with the additional admin position being on hold and the DARE funding being on hold.
The DARE program currently has zero money left in it. We budgeted at 20,000 based on his annual generosity from the public donation, but we didn't get that anymore. So his donations this year have been $989, and the fund is now fully expensed to zero.
So anything that we approve is pretty much just preliminary right now. And, because I really want to go through some of this, and probably, we've already seen a few questions. So we can come back and discuss that at a further meeting.
Yes, when we approve the final budget, we can address things that you have questions.
Whatever you guys want, I'm good with either way. I mean, we still have time to, we come up with questions and look at other things and discuss other things. So it's up to you guys, whatever you guys want.
We do need you to vote on this prelim today, though.
No, yeah, but, and that's why I'm good with it, because we can ask, get changed and do whatever we need to do down the road.
I agree. I think it should stay as preliminary posted there, that we're approving the vehicle and the DARE for now, and we'll talk about it more in the future on the final. That's what you're saying, right?
They're not, but the DARE and the admin assistant are not budgeted for, right?
Correct.
Only the vehicle. So if we approve the preliminary budget now, we're approving the vehicle, but not the other two in the preliminary.
Oh, okay. I guess I was confused because the 30,000 is up there.
That's what the sheriff requested.
Okay.
And I don't know if he wants to say something, but when he made that request to you, he also indicated you were reaching out to other municipalities for support. Have you done that and have any commitments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner. Just to give you an update, I have my DARE coordinator actually has reached out to several businesses. They're currently working on a grant through Freeport. We're hopeful to get some funding out of that. And in my budget request, I had requested 20,000, not 30. So, I mean, that can be changed as well. But I feel that this program has been a benefit, and I get the stats don't show it, but I believe the community, the schools, the kids that have gone through it have benefited from it. And I'd hate to see this program go, so I'm still gonna push to keep it going, because it is an important thing that's been brought forward. Requests from the schools, they really enjoy having the staff there, the officers, and even interacting with the kids brings a lot to families. Knowing that law enforcement is in the school with them, interacting in that capacity, and giving them at least the tools, the resources. We're not just addressing drugs, we're addressing bullying. You know, a lot of bullying that goes on in the schools, that is a big deal. That is part of the curriculum that's in that program. So, I mean, I'm hopeful that you guys, I hope that you guys do. If not, well, then we'll have to research other avenues. But that's pretty much where we're at. We are reaching out to community members, and I'm not expecting the county to fund it all. We're still doing our work on our end. So, but any support you guys can give, we would really appreciate.
But did you ask the municipalities?
So
Or just,
so currently, I did reach out to the city, because the city provides law enforcement officers to interact the program or teach the program with us. So I did reach out to their chief, and he was going to propose it to his city council as well. So that could also be an option. That we're doing everything we can to get as much support from the community.
Commissioner Flores.
Sheriff, I have a question. If you can refresh my memory about the vehicle, what's the one vehicle for $50,000?
So it's just a vehicle replacement yearly, just to replace one of the older units, just to replace a new one, pretty much.
Is there any reason that you couldn't use your LEPF money to fund that? Because I know that's what we do. We use a portion of the LEPF to fund our units, and we try to keep our fleet up to date every year with that, because I know what it's used for, and you can use it for a vehicle. Have you looked into that?
Yes, definitely. I had conversed with the county manager about that on options of what we're going to look at utilizing our LEPF funding for, and that was something that I also discussed with her. Right now, currently, I can get you an update of exactly how many units are high mileage already and really needing repair or actually being deadline, but currently we have some units coming in that we've utilized through grant funding that we purchased, and recently we were able to get 5 through a program that was initiated by the county, but I don't know where that process is going to go from now on to utilize that. So pretty much it's just to replace something that needs to be replaced. It's not that we want additional units, it's a need that's needed.
so why don't you explain what you're using your LEPF for?
So currently, out of my LEPF, the funding that we get, I add some of that funding into training. I moved some of that funding into training. Last year, I moved $50,000 out of that into training to utilize for our training for our staff. As you see in our budget, the county gives me $10,000 to $15,000 in training, but training has been more expensive and costs have gone up on everything that we do in travel. So I'm trying to bring in more training here locally to try and eliminate some of that process, but I do utilize that for training, and then I buy whatever we need that we're not able to get through the budget. I utilize that for other things, and that is one of my goals also, is to use it for equipment, equipping our units and necessities that we have, that we're allotted and allowed to purchase through LEPF funding.
I understand the LEPF, but I think at some point, looking at it in a budgetary, I think the training is, for me, it's a little excessive, because we're requested the biennium training. You know what the biennium training is, and a lot of that's done free. Most of the departments have their own instructors. I know I pay for an instructor to come down and give us biennium, and for the 7 of us, I think every year it's probably $1,200 to qualify us for our biennium, and then we do advanced training wherever we can get it. But obviously you have a bigger department than us, but I think at some point in time, some of the advanced training can be local here, which meets the mandatory biennium requirements. And I think you could take some of the training budget money that you're allotting and purchase the vehicle you need to, because obviously you can't buy, $50,000 worth of uniforms every year. You just can't do it. You gotta, sometimes we struggle to find out what we can spend the money for, a small department. And the allotment is based on the number of officers that are certified in each department, as you well know. So you guys get obviously a lot more than we do. But I think in a time like this, I think we have to sort of rely on what we can do within our budget from other grants like the state. And I think the LEPF is a great funding source for departments such as ours, yours, to buy a vehicle such as this for whatever you need it for, regardless of what it's for. But I think I would definitely try to look a little bit harder at your LEPF. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions? I guess I'll make a motion to approve this preliminary budget with, approve the preliminary budget for now with intentions of going back prior to the final budget going in to discuss this and have more time to look at this. That's my motion.
Second.
So I was second by Commissioner Medina. Do we have any discussion?
Yeah, I agree with the sheriff that we probably need to seriously consider adding some funding for DARE. If we can do that later down the road, that's fine, but I think it's important.
Any further discussion? So Commissioner Stevens had made a motion to approve the preliminary budget with directions that before our final budget that we discuss this a little more in depth and look at some of this stuff to bring up. So that's a motion on the floor. Do you have any discussion on that? Any further discussion? Seeing that, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Moving on to Commissioner reports. Commissioner Flores, do you have a report?
Mr. Chair, yes, sir, thank you. Just a couple of things. Andrea and Betty, thank you for the great reports, and I appreciate the communication and very informative. Thank you so much. I know it's hard work and it goes, it's a thankless job, but thank you. I'd just like to, we all received an email from a constituent regarding the problems at the landfill with traffic going back and forth at the scale, and yesterday myself and Commissioner Stevens had a solid waste meeting with the city and solid waste folks, so it was a perfect time to bring it up. I brought it up during the meeting where this was requested and this was needed. The day before, I was there at the landfill and almost witnessed a fight because one person was trying to rush in front of another person, and they started arguing, and luckily nothing happened. But it is sometimes confusing, especially during peak hours when people don't know to go in, go out. There's no one directing them. So you just pretty much, on a courtesy way you do it, but some people aren't as courteous as others. But the board agreed to definitely put a traffic light there at the scale in their next fiscal year ICIP wishes. And I'm pretty sure that was on top of their list, and that's going to get done, but it won't be for a bit. So what I requested from the director was if it's possible during peak hours at the landfill, which is usually a Saturday or a nice day during the summer, they know when the peak hours are. They are going to have a spotter there at the scale directing traffic back and forth. So that will eliminate a lot of the issues there at the landfill with regards to who has the right of way, because sometimes there's vehicles all the way up the hill waiting to get in, and it's just sort of a mess there. But there is a solution to the problem, and it's going to happen very, very quickly. At least the spotter and then soon to be a traffic light that'll be controlled by the person inside. I'd like to remind everybody about the May 28th PNM meeting. I've been working, it's in Cliff at the high school, starts at 5:30. It is a town hall meeting. I encourage all those folks in Cliff, Buckhorn, Mill Creek, Gila to attend. I've been in constant contact with them regarding the power outages, the windy days, and I think it's time that we all get together, and PNM has recognized that and are willing to come down and address all questions and issues regarding power issues, because I know some folks are on devices that need power, some folks are running businesses, they're losing money. It is very frustrating for them. But I've been working with PNM. Kevin Cardoso has been great in communicating with me and Charlene. So please plan on attending that meeting at the Cliff High School. I'll also be there. I know Representative Luis Terrazas will be there as well. I think the senator will be there. And there's another meeting, I think the 29th here in Silver. But the one in Cliff is specifically for the power outages that they've been dealing with. Joseph, I don't know if it's possible, but a constituent, and I've always said this during my campaign, he's not in my district, but I'm a voice for anybody in the county, but he reached out to me and he said that he's been really seeking a guardrail. He lives there on Skyview off of Ridge Road, and it's I think it's the sign that says Quail Ridge Mobile Home Park, that's Skyview. I drove by there a couple times and looked at it. When you first go around that curve, and I know at one point there was a lot of wrecks there, but that was before the road was improved. But at the same time, he has that first house as you go down the incline. It'll be the first house on the left. It's a Martinez resident. And if somebody decided not to make that curve because of high speed or intoxication or other impairments, they're going to go straight into their house, whether it's a bedroom, living room. But I definitely do see it as a hazard, and maybe just a small guardrail to deflect something if that were to occur. He'd be really appreciative, and I do think it's a hazard, and I appreciate you looking into that. I also met with some constituents, and I reached out to the state EPA engineer with regards to, and I mentioned it to Joseph during our ICIP meeting, but there's a lot of issues with the septic systems in the Indian Hills area, Grandview, Arrowhead, Blackhawk, and at one point in time, I know there was a lot of projects there that went up Arrowhead on Kane Drive to put a city sewer system in there. But the engineer from other constituents has spoken to some residents that they didn't anticipate the septic system there being an issue. And the issues are septic is dripping or leaking into other people's property, and that's obviously a health hazard, enough that the EPA has gotten involved. And I think at some time we as a county have to address that issue and maybe get some colonias money, or maybe the next ICIP, the next big project next fiscal year, and address that. And I know there's also an issue with the same problem with the same issue in Commissioner Shelley's district there in Lance and over there by the golf course, right? Same issues with the septic systems, and I think some folks have talked to me about that too, and I think if we can maybe combine both projects, your district, Commissioner Shelley, my district, and at the same time while we have them on board, they can address both septic issues, and we as a commission can look at fixing that, because at the end of the day, no one wants septic leaking into your driveway, and this is terrible. But I know the budget is tight. My last comment, Mr. Chair. I apologize for the long comments.
This is your time. Take whatever you need.
But I know Charlene, you said the budget, there's a little bit of wiggle room, and I think if there is a little bit of wiggle room, I think we need to look at, I know there's an increase that you got for a pay increase for yourself and Andrea as far as a manager Assistant manager?
For me.
Well, I think, then we need to look at that. I think at some point, we need to look at some sort of increase, because I know we discussed it at one meeting where, and I read that report wrong, I apologize. But you're right, new county managers are coming in at a way more salary than what you came in. They're making maybe what you're making with almost no experience. And I think now that we're sort of in a stability point right now, based on everything that's happened, we owe a lot of it to our leadership, which is Charlene and Andrea. And I think if there is some wiggle room in there, we need to look at keeping you here, because if the truth is, if we had to look for something new, we're gonna pay them way more probably than what you're paying. And I think it's important that we keep the leadership. All employees deserve a raise. I wish I could give everybody any raise they wanted. But I think that right now, there's some room we need to do as a commission to keep everybody here and do what's right. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Flores. Just so you're aware, 3 years maybe, we did have sort of like a little town hall meeting. I'm not sure what the title was, for the people in Silver Acres. A lot of those people in Silver Acres. And just to let you know, we're not too fond of trying to go into that source system business, because we can put, and we can try to get colonias. Just for your information, you probably need to talk a little bit more with Joseph and our county manager. They really didn't want it in their area. And a lot of the reason is we can go after colonias and look at the source system, get money to start that phases. The problem, where it became a problem, is to go from the road and the easement to put it to their house was like $5,000, or probably even gone up more. And a lot of people can't afford that. So go ahead, you're looking at me.
No, I was just gonna remind you, remember we had done a preliminary exploratory.
Right.
And so we have a report, we'll send that to you, and the numbers are quite alarming, and it's not anything that we are ever going to be able to afford to do, probably. And that was one nasty public hearing. We got reamed up one side and down the other.
So I'm not telling you guys don't pursue it, not at all, but those are the things that you're gonna be faced with. It'd be nice if we could come up with that amount of money. Commissioner Brown really looked at it, pushed it. I know COG sort of looked at it. But there's a lot to be involved here. Not only can a line be set out there, it's the cost to go from the line to the resident. So, and I'll give you, and my hats will come off if you can find all that money, but don't stop on my account, keep doing what you do.
Is that specifically for Silver Acres only?
That was for Silver Acres. The other one, I remember that there was some stuff going on, but I think where the cost really went up is because of the rock that they had done preliminary, the rock. It's sort of like you look at the 4-lane highway and going from Baird to Deming or Hurley, you see all that rock. That's where a lot of our contractors run into a problem where the cost goes up.
Yeah.
And I've asked Joseph to have a conversation with Alex Brown with the city, because they have to be on board with the Indian Hills project, because we certainly don't want to be in the sewer business any more than we already are. But he's not had a chance to do that yet, but that's definitely a conversation we'll have with the city, so we know how to proceed with being able to address your request to look into that. So we're working on it.
Thank you for that. And obviously, yeah, the in Indian Hills is different, because they started it last year, a couple of years ago, and they went all the way up Arrowhead, like I said before. And people were very happy with anticipation that it was going to continue, but it just went up north of Kane, all the way up Arrowhead, and then stopped. So they've obviously gone into the county, but only on one street. And everybody else is thinking, well, why did it stop there? And that's the questions I got when I was campaigning. Why did it stop? Why is it not continuing? Because I think it is, there's a place right across from my house that you obviously can see the septic and you can smell it. And when I get more information from the state engineer, I'll bring that to the next meeting as well. Thank you.
And again, it's not telling you guys not to pursue it, just look at what, an idea of what you're gonna be hit with. Commissioner Shelley.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've, probably the only thing I'll report on today, there's a lot going on that I hope to bring up in the future, but just not ready yet. But I do have recently met with one business person, one constituent who have concerns about how they're being charged for landfill disposals. I know after bringing their concerns up to our county manager that there's things in the works that are going to affect all of that most likely. But that's something that I've spent some time looking into and trying to get feedback from them on how they would see to change things. I do understand that the county fees are pretty low and they haven't been changed in, I don't know, 20 years or something. It's a long time. So anyway, that's one issue that's been coming up a few times to me that I do understand that there's a lot being discussed and thought about as far as managing that differently going forward. So other than that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Stevens.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a couple things regarding constituents and conversations I've had recently. I talked to someone who owns a business and was upset about trash along 180. I know that Santa Clara and Baird and Silver all have cleanup days, and I'm just kind of thinking about how we might be able to collaborate a little bit and make sure that there's not gaps. Anything we can do, I mentioned before, I like to try to beautify places. I think it makes us all feel better when you come into a community and you see, the basic bar should be no trash. And then if you can do any kind of like native landscaping, that'd be even better. So that's just something I'm interested in. And he had talked to the state with the Department of Transportation, and they said they come out every month and do cleanups. So I want to just look a little bit deeper into that and see how we can improve that. And then I also talked to a couple constituents that wanted to know why we don't do Zoom for our county commission meetings. So I thought I would just bring that up and see if that's something we can take a look at. I guess in Luna County they do Zoom for their meetings, and people appreciate it. And then regarding HMS, I talked to some behavioral health providers, and they feel like the urgency really is for crisis triage in our community. I do plan to go to the public input meeting on May 28th at 6:30 at the conference center. Everyone is welcome. I think it's just a chance for people to express their concerns, so I won't be there in an official capacity, but just want to hear what everyone has to say. And then last, I've been trying to attend ribbon cutting ceremonies through the Chamber of Commerce just to show support for people investing in our community. That's it.
Thank you. That's what I was gonna tell you. Can you have someone send out a notice that there may be a quorum at that meeting on whatever day it was, 28th, just in case? I know we're gonna do individual. She already did? Awesome, great. Thank you. And then the other part, Well, I talked to the sheriff also about, starting one of the first steps, because you're absolutely right, on the highway and the trash. You know, we sit here, we talk about economic development, bringing people in, especially now with the Blues Festival coming in, and you have Labor Day stuff coming in, you had the bike race, we have all this, so I asked and sat down or had a conversation with our sheriff maybe to start looking at the enforcement for uncovered load. That's probably one step we could take. I know Representative Terrazas and myself have had conversations on this. All the other commissioners have, I don't know what the answer is, but I think, with our sheriff and enforcement and starting to see what else we can do, work release or having, some of our inmates do that, the liability, this, that, it's not gonna work. So if you have anybody have any ideas, please come up with something, because you are right. So I think our first step is enforcement, and we'll go from there. Just to let you know that that's what the sheriff is gonna start doing here soon. Commissioner Medina.
Yes, sir, just a couple. First and foremost, I want to thank all the county staff that went up there with us to the meeting yesterday. It went really well. A lot of heated topics that were discussed, and I really appreciate how all the county staff handled the conversations. I think they went to every county member every county staff that was up there, and I really appreciate the way it was handled. Mr. Olguin went up and opened up a public hearing for ICIP, and when you think people aren't watching, they're watching. They asked him a lot of questions that I never even thought of, and it was really interesting to see how they're vested in the projects, and they're vested in what he had to say and so forth. So I appreciate that, what you went up there with us. We've been having some issues with the transfer station up in the Members Valley regarding this huge hole, and they had emailed me and texted me about it, and Jason Lockett went up there and took care of it, and I appreciate that. I just want to tell him thank you. I know he's out here today, but if you can pass it on to him, he took care of it, and within about an hour of him finishing, I had pictures of it completed, and the members of the community were really excited about it, so I really do appreciate that. One last thing, County Manager, we can add to the agenda for the next meeting. Kobe softball and Silver softball both brought home state championships. If we could recognize them in a meeting and make sure that these young ladies get recognized for their hard work and what they did for their schools and for the county. It's really amazing that we had two schools bring home state championships at the same time. And other than that, that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Medina. I was trying to make that yesterday. I need to make one, but my little grandson had his graduation pre-K, so I was in Tucson for that. But anyway, for my comments, can we have a presentation done by our treasurer concerning our investments and what's happening, what's not happening? Well, that, especially now that we've been looking at our budget, trying to decipher this, that, and the other, I'd really like to hear from him. And if you can put him on the next regular meeting or even the work session agenda, doesn't matter, whatever you feel, and so we can have him on there.
I'll put you on the regular meeting agenda, and I will also send you the statute that explains how it's a dual relationship on how investments are done. You guys learned about that in BIBO, but I'll send it out again so you understand what that relationship is regarding your investments. I'd be happy to put them on the agenda.
Thank you. The other thing, Sheriff, you're killing me with, your deputy was given an award, and I appreciate that. What's getting to me is we need to look at our agenda, or at least your office, look at the agenda. We have a time frame. I think this last time was Friday. Get these in on presentation, because we sit up here. It's not that we don't appreciate what they've done and what they're going through, but under public input, we sit up here looking at them like we can't say anything, and I sure don't want any person walking out of here thinking, well, county commission didn't appreciate us, because it's in the public input area. Because I think if your staff does something and you wonder, any staff for that matter, it's me. I thought I forgot my cell phone. Sorry. I found it. I was sitting on it. Anyway, you know, it's good that our commissioners and even, you know, somebody else can really give them kudos and everything. And please tell them congratulations on behalf of our commission and thank you for that. I appreciate that. The other part is, I know I got an email from you on some dates with, meeting with the judge. You were out of town, so I'm assuming the other days are good? Because I received information where we're at on our meeting. If you can, give me something that fits you and fits the judge, so we can, I really wanna hear from the judge as to what exactly they wanna go. You know, and I just want to go into, you know, I don't know if I apologize, but I don't apologize, if that makes sense with what I had said earlier, but that's one thing that I have always kept close to my heart is our seniors, and I know I went off a little bit, you know, besides myself with everything going on and with our senior centers with Tu Casa, you know, the comment you made, where we need to go with it, you know, and that's part of my thing is we've been waiting too long and it hasn't gone to where it needs to go. And I know I was a little, I was not happy, I'm still not happy, threw me off the meeting. I hope that this commission really decides to put these politics away and do what's best for our commission, for our citizens. And with those two contracts, the biggest thing we need to look at is our seniors, not ourselves, not how we come out looking. Part of the conversation, sometimes as chair, you have to stand in front of your commissioners and take it. And I'm good with it. I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with taking hits on stuff that I believe in, standing up for Grant County, standing up for our seniors, our veterans, our kids. I don't have a problem with that, because to me, I do my job and I sleep well at night. And I understand I went off a little bit there, but I'm not happy with what's going on. I am not happy to be held sort of like somebody said, a hostage. If you don't do this, we're gonna, well, you know what? It's not about me and it's not about you, it's about our seniors. So again, I don't know if it makes sense or not. I'm gonna continue this fight. Our seniors deserve better. You know, people faced with mental and behavioral health issues deserve better. We need to be the champions, we need to be the leaders, and we need to do what's best for our community. That's not what's best for our political area. So, you know, I hope that you guys sit there and really think about what's going on. I know we have 3 brand new commissioners. We've been going through this for many years with Tu Casa. And I think it's time that we stand up and do what's best for our community. And that's why I'm saying, you know, I apologize, but I don't. There's very few things that, as a commissioner, really get under your skin, but there's some that will get under your skin. And our seniors are our seniors. We cannot be out there saying, oh, this is a retirement community, economic development, but we forget the first most important part is our retirement community. And I hope that our commissioners, and I'm telling you commissioners, that you take a step back and decide what we need to do for our seniors, what do we need to do for behavioral health, and we take the right steps. And thank you. And I'm done. Anything else? County manager, anything, nothing? Meeting adjourned.